Hello, everyone. I'm Don Crafton, co-founder of Sight Reading Factory, and I'll be leading the webinar today. With me is Adam Raboon, the other co-founder of Sight Reading Factory, and my better half, Colleen Crafton, will also be joining us. Adam and Colleen will be busily answering, responding to any questions or comments you have, which actually brings me to my first housekeeping item. You can type up any questions using the GoToWebinar interface, so please feel free to do so, and we will respond to you as we can. Also, I wanted to mention that I'll be posting a recording of this webinar on our blog in the next few days. So if you know anyone that was not able to make it, be sure to tell them that they can check out the webinar there on our blog. Okay, so for the agenda today, this evening, the first half I'm going to be talking about, and it's going to be approximately about 30 minutes. I'll be talking about using SRF as an individual user, and you can kind of see what that means there. In the second half, which will also be about 30 minutes, I'll be talking about Sight Reading Factory student accounts, the various features associated with them, and how to manage those accounts as a teacher. And at the end, I'll do a short Q&A where Adam and Colleen can let me know some of the most common questions that were asked and that I wasn't able to address, and we'll address them at that time. Okay, so first things first, I'll be demoing the site here on a laptop. The view that you'll be looking at is a laptop, but I highly encourage you to check out the site on a smartphone or tablet when you get a chance. We recently, the main purpose of this webinar is that we recently redesigned the entire site with mobile in mind, and we really believe that SRF users can enjoy first-class mobile experience in the browser when you're using our site on a smartphone or tablet. And so real quick before going on, speaking of smartphones and tablets, I did want to mention that we do have a native iOS app, but because of the updates to the website, if you are on an iPhone or iPad, or if you are an iPhone or iPad user, we recommend that you use Sight Reading Factory in the Safari browser on your iOS device, because currently it has a superior design, functionality, and features. But again, I just want to read it just so there's no confusion. We still have the iOS app. It does still work, and it is still fully functional. It just doesn't yet have all the features that we've added to the website. For Android users, we do not have a native iOS app, but again, because of all the improvements to the mobile experience, personally, I think it feels like an app and looks like an app. And I'll be getting into this later when talking about student accounts, but students can take SRF assignments on an Android device using the Chrome browser, and students using an iOS device can take SRF assignments in the Safari browser or using the native iOS app. Okay, so speaking more about system requirements, you're looking at now is a general list of supported devices and browsers that we recommend. Pretty much, if you're using a modern device, phone, tablet, or computer, and everything's up to date, all the browsers are up to date, you're going to be fine. It's going to work just fine. Okay, so before I get started here, I'm kind of diving into all the changes. I did want to talk about what Sight Reading Factory is, kind of in a nutshell, for anyone that might be brand new and have never used it before. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction, but again, the majority of this will be the changes. So what is Sight Reading Factory? I guess in a nutshell, it is a music composition engine that is used for practicing sight reading. You can configure the music and generate unlimited exercises on demand for an endless stream of new music to sight read. We do not employ composers to write the music for us, and we don't store compositions and call them up whenever you want them. They are composed instantly in real time using a unique algorithm that we develop, so that every time you request a new sight reading exercise, you will get brand new music. So with all that said, let's see how it works. From the dashboard, you would click the Start Sight Reading button. And from here, you would pick your medium, your instrument. And I'm a bass trombone player, so I'm just going to pick my instrument down here. And then I'm going to pick a level and a time signature and a key signature. And I'll go back and talk about all this more in a second, what's changed with all that. But I just want to show you how easy it is to generate some music. And then here, I'm going to use free play. Again, I'll talk about free play and challenge in a moment. I'm going to use free play, and I'll generate some music. So from the time that I click that button in free play to start, when it said start free play, till the time that you saw the music on the screen, it composed the music. So it was virtually instant that it composes the music. So no one has ever seen this exercise before. If I click the next button, well, actually, let's say I play it through, okay? And I don't do very good. I kind of mess up. I can go back and practice it again. That's fine. I can listen to it here if I wanted to. But if I practice it again, that's not sight reading. And I'm here to practice sight reading. So I need a new sight reading exercise. So I would hit next, and it would generate a new exercise. Now the one we just saw is gone forever, and here's another brand new exercise. I can also use the N hotkey for that. So I'll hit the N button, and I'll keep getting new exercises. And I can do this all day long, and I can keep getting a different sight reading exercise. And real quick, briefly, I want to talk about the hotkeys. Let me move this thing over here, which you might not be able to see. And so over here in the settings area, if you open that up and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see keyboard shortcuts. This will show you all the new keyboard shortcuts that we have. They're all very handy, so I encourage you to take advantage of those. Okay, so that is kind of Sight Reading Factory in a nutshell. That's what it's all about, being able to generate that music. As educators, like to project it up onto a board. But yeah, so you can quickly and easily generate music to use. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the changes, how it's different. I'm going to get back into the mixer here, and we'll go back over here to our instrument family page. So not much has changed here except just the way it looks. The functionality is the same. We still have your favorites that you've used recently. Down here is all the instrument families. It's been reorganized a little bit, but pretty much all of the instrument families are here that were there before. Some unique ones I want to point out. Well, for music educators, we do have a bunch of different ensembles that you can use: a concert band, choir, full orchestra, and string orchestra, both unison and multiple part versions of those. Let's see, rhythm only is probably our most popular medium. And this just spits out a rhythm only line. I'll do this real quick so you can see what it's like. We'll just do a level 3, and we'll hit start here. And so it basically just spits out a rhythm only line like this. Zoom in a little bit. I'll talk more about zoom in a little bit later. Come on, hotkey, you're not working. There we go. So so there's a rhythm only line. All right, let's see here now. Obviously, we have the piano instrument you can choose, lots of different solo voices, tone sets. Spend a little bit of time talking about tone sets before we move from them. These are kind of unique for anyone that's familiar with the Kodai tone sets. Basically, we have these pre-packaged tone sets that you can use. And you can basically, instead of well, with our customization feature, you can customize a certain range of notes, but sometimes you may want to leave out notes of the range. Like if you want to do the pentatonic scale, you want to remove fa from the range. Well, we didn't have a way to do that, so what we did is we created this tone set feature so that you can, if you want to do the pentatonic scale, you would select the do, re, mi, so, la tone set. And along the way, people have recommended, hey, can we have this tone set? Can we have this tone set? So you'll see other ones here like the do, mi, sol tone set, the mi, so, la tone set, things like that. So there's all kinds of different tone sets here, and it's great for young singers that are just starting to learn how to sight sing. You can start with very basic, just do and re, just 2 notes, and you can move up from there. So I encourage you to check out tone sets there. Guitars and bass guitars under there. We have strings, pretty much all the kind of solo strings that you'd want to use. And let's see here, a bunch of different woodwinds, brass, and percussion. For percussion, we offer snare drum and mallets. So let's see here. Moving on to the next screen, I'm going to pick, let's do oboe this time. We'll pick an oboe. Okay, now here is our level screen. Not much has changed here on the level screen either. There is a little bit of difference. One thing that I wanted to mention is that the standards, now if you, for those of you that have used different state standards, before, if you had multiple ones, they would all be listed on the screen. But now we have this standards picker where it says type. So if you do this little drop down, it'll show you the different standards you have. For me right now, for this instrument I'm using for oboe, it just says Sight Reading Factory and my levels, which is custom levels. Okay, so but I will talk a little bit about standards. I'll come back to the level screen in just a moment. So with standards on your dashboard, if you go back to your dashboard here and you go to the Preferences tab, you will see all of the different state and organization standards that we offer. Okay, So if you are a member of any of these states and you didn't know we have these standards, you should check them out. And if you don't see your standard here and you would like us to add it, let us know. But for example, I'll add the NYSSMA standard here, which is the New York State standard. And I'm going to go back into the mixer here, and I'm going to pick oboe again. And now you'll see here's the NYSSMA, and I can choose a drop down from NYSSMA, Sight Reading Factory, or my custom levels. So that's kind of the main change on this page is how you pick your standard. Now I did want to pause here for just a moment because someone wrote today actually about the webinar and had this question, and it's a fairly common question we get here at Sight Reading Factory. People asking, I guess how to practice sight reading and how to use our sight, how to move through the levels, because it's not really guided. So I thought I would just offer a couple helpful tips there. So two of the questions asked today by someone was, when their students are using the sight, should they stop and fix mistakes, or should they stay in time and keep going forward? So I think it's kind of an accepted thing for sight reading. You always want to keep going. So yeah, you definitely want to refrain from stopping, going back and trying to fix things. Kind of the whole point of sight reading is just to kind of keep going, plow ahead from beginning to end. If you're finding that the music that you're trying to sight read is too difficult for that, then do an easier level, because it's okay to make a few mistakes, but you basically just want to keep going. Because I can't tell you how many times I've sat in an ensemble that that someone invited me to play in, or someone got sick and I had to sub in, and I'm sight reading music on a concert, and I've never seen before, and obviously the ensemble is not gonna wait for me to figure out my part. So so you definitely want to just keep going ahead. Another common question is when should you move to the next level in Sight Reading Factory? And that's a little bit more of a complicated question because it's really kind of dependent on the person. But I will say that for the various levels, we suggest key signatures for each level. So I'm going to pick level 2, and I'll go over to the key signature screen. And for this screen, we have 3 suggested key signatures: C, F, and B flat. Okay. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to pick level 4, and I'm going to go back to the key signature screen. And here you can see our suggested key signatures are more. We suggest more key signatures here. So my recommendation would be that when using Sight Reading Factory, I would recommend kind of conquering the suggested key signatures for each level before moving to the next level. I think doing some of the really obscure and difficult key signatures adds really an extra layer of difficulty. So even if you're doing a level 1, if you're trying to do level 1 in C flat major on your instrument, that would make it pretty hard. So maybe you don't want to try C flat major until you've mastered level 3. So I guess my recommendation would be to try and conquer our suggested key signatures. Now we do have a lot of time signatures, and we don't yet have a grouping for those as far as suggesting them for levels. But I guess a good rule of thumb is 4/4, 3/4, 2/4 for the lower levels. Add cut time in 6/8 for the middle levels, and all of the other ones for the upper levels. But yeah, and I would kind of use that as a guide going forward. Okay. So let's move on here. So we've talked about our level tab here. Now let's go on to the time signature tab. Nothing new here from the old version. I will point out that you can still multi-select time signatures by toggling this button on and off right here. So if I leave it off, I can just pick one, and that's the only time signature I'll get. If I leave it on, I can pick many time signatures, and it'll randomly choose between the ones that I pick. You won't have a time signature change within the music, but each exercise will be random as to which one it will pick next. Next, our key signature tab. Again, nothing's really changed here. Visually, it's a little different. We do still have the multiple select. And I'll turn that on and I'll select some. One thing we did do is add some nice filtering options for you. So before we just had kind of the suggested key signatures and every other key signature. But now you're able to filter it also by the major key signatures and the minor key signatures. And you also have random options for those. So you can do random minor key signature, you can do random major key signature, you can do any random any key signature or random suggested, or you can just select your own custom group of key signatures like I'm doing right now. So there's the key signatures I have, and I'll click next. Now I'm ready to generate the music. And I'll pause here again on this screen because this has changed a little bit, or a lot, I guess, if you're used to the old screen. So first, if you recall on the old version, it was called regular practice over here and timed practice over here. Okay, we've kind of rebranded those as free play and challenge. Another thing you'll notice is that some elements are removed from this page. Before, you could select the number of measures that you would like to for the music to be. You still have that option. It's just not on this screen. It's on the next screen. You could also set your annotations. Excuse me, that also has been removed from the screen. You still have the option, it's just not on this screen. Another thing you could do on the screen is say whether or not you want the measure numbers to show over the music. You can still do that, just not here. Okay, so we just try to simplify this screen a little bit. So here you can select either free play or challenge mode. I'll start with free play. So basically free play is a way that it generates music instantly, and you can kind of do whatever you want with it. So I'll hit free play, it generates the music, there it is. Now from here, I can start sight reading immediately if I want to. I can click play and listen to the music. I can print the music out. I can just sit and stare at it for a bit, whatever you want to do. You kind of have your own choice as to what you want to do with free play. It's not necessarily understood that you want to start playing it right away. Challenge mode is a little bit of a different story. Again, this is like that the time practice in the old pages. So you click challenge, and the first thing you'll see is you can select some performance options. Again, if you select challenge mode, you're going to be performing. That's what the assumption is here. And with challenge mode, you can enable a lot of different features. And if you recall in time practice, most of these features were there before. We had the metronome on and off, the cursor, and the disagree measures. We had these three. We've added some other possibilities that you can do when doing a challenge. And you could turn the sound on now if you'd like. So you could have the synthetic audio playback going while you're playing. So you can now do that if you'd like. Also, a really exciting feature is that you can now record yourself when practicing. So you could record yourself anyway if you had a student account, or if your students had accounts and they were doing a formal assignment that you would set up for them, then they could record themselves in an assignment, but they can never do it in a practice mode. So now we have a way to do that. I think it's a really great feature, which we'll be talking about in a moment. For now, I'm just gonna leave that. Well, no, we'll leave it on, but I'm actually not going to show you challenge just yet. I want to show you a couple of other things. And then disappearing measures. This makes the measures disappear after they've been played. A very, very popular request that we had along the way was for the music to auto advance to another exercise. So now that is an option you have. So after you've done a challenge, if you have that enabled, as soon as you get to the end of the exercise, it'll generate a new one, and then you can just kind of keep going. There is I think a 5-second pause before it generates a new one, just in case you have the recording on and you want to pause to listen to the recording you just made, or if you want to listen to that exercise or try again or something like that. So we do give you like a 5-second grace period there. Okay, before I get into kind of showing some of these other features, I want to go and talk about the new features on the actual music page right now. So first of all, this button right here will take you back to the mixer. You may have seen me do this a couple times. So yeah, you click that, it takes you back to the mixer, and then you can change any settings that you need to take. You don't need to go all the way back to the clicking the SRF icon will take you back to the dashboard. Clicking this will take you back to the mixer. Moving from left to right, this obviously plays the audio for the exercise, and likewise, if you do a challenge exercise, it'll play your recording if you've recorded yourself. Here are the playback options. If you're doing free play, your only options are to play back the audio with a cursor, or without a cursor, or with or without a metronome track while you're listening to it. So you can turn those on or off if you'd like. Moving right along, next, we already talked about this. This will just generate a new exercise. This here is our tuning fork icon, which will play you what we call the tuner hint type, or the opening pitch in most cases. It really just depends on how you have it configured. So if I click it, so there it played my opening pitch. And I'll show you how you can change the setting. I'll be talking more about these settings over here in just a moment. But I'll show you right now. If you go down here and you see tuner hint type, you have a bunch of different options here. You can have it play just the opening pitch, which is what we have now, or tonic, tonic triad with a block chord, tonic triad with a broken chord, or tonic arpeggio in a block chord. So that's where you can set your preference there for the tuner hint type. After you have it set there, you just hit this button and it'll do it. This is a little bit of a change from the old music page. We now have a free-form metronome. So if you just click that, it'll play, it'll just start a metronome, and it'll just keep going until you click it again. Now, if you remember in the old music page, that was done through, we had like a music icon and a metronome icon, and you could turn the music icon off, but so that's not how it works anymore. You just click this, it starts a metronome, and it'll just keep going until you stop it. Okay, so here's where you set the tempo, pretty self-explanatory. You can use little arrow keys if you want, or you can type into the field. Okay, so let's get into our settings area here. I don't believe we had one of these in the old music page, so this is new. All right, so the first great thing is our zoom feature. So our zoom capability is really improved. Very excited about how this works. And again, it's great on small screens as well, because the music now smartly resizes itself. So if the music notes start getting too big and start getting too squished, well, then the music will resize itself so that so it looks better. But you can use the little slider here to change the view, or you can use the hotkeys. I'm using the Z and the X hotkeys to zoom in and out. Let's see here. Also we have the full screen mode. So this is really powerful. I'm actually going to demonstrate this with a ensemble exercise. So let's do that here. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. Yeah, 120 will probably work. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to pick an ensemble. We'll do contraband since that has the most instruments. So go up here, ensemble. We'll just do a unison contraband exercise. Level 2 works. Turn this off. We'll just do 4/4. Turn all this off, and we'll just do B flat major, and we'll start. Okay, so here's a contraband exercise. Now, for those of you band directors that may be watching, never seen this before, this is a great way for you to project music onto a screen. Your students can sight read together. You have all the parts you need: the C treble, the B flat, the E flat, the F, the C bass, and the percussion parts. Now, let's say that your students can't quite see it. You want to make it a little bit better. Well, you can zoom in some, right? So I'm using the Z key and I zoomed in, but you see I zoomed in one time and already the snare drum part is off the screen. We're like, well, what can we do about that? So what you can do now is you can use your full screen option. All right, so we'll click full screen. Excuse me. And now you'll notice that you have a lot more space on the screen. And now you can zoom in even more. And by the way, you can use the F hotkey to toggle in and out of full screen mode. So now I can zoom in even more, right? A couple more times, the music still spaced nicely, and now I'm using up the full screen. The notes are nice and large there. So that's kind of a really neat feature that we're happy about. We added recently, is this ability to go full screen. So yeah, I encourage you to check that out if you use this in a classroom in an ensemble setting. Okay, so full screen mode. We've talked about that there. All right, let's move on down the list here. Oh, number of measures. Okay, great. So in talking about the number of measures, I'm going to actually generate a multiple part choir exercise. So let's go use that. And in doing multiple part choir, I'm just going to do a level 4. This has changed a little bit where you select your voices. Matter of fact, we had an email from someone just the other day who was confused about that. So the way you do this is, so before you had like a pile of voices over here, you would click it and it would populate over here. Now you just click this empty field, it says add voice. You pick a voice you want to add, soprano. You click another field, we'll add another voice, alto, click another field, we'll add bass, and boom. So now we have a 3-part ensemble, soprano, alto, and bass. But you can really do as few as 2 voices, as many as 4 voices. You just can't have more than 2 of the same voice types. You could do SSAA, you could do SATB, you can kind of do whatever you want. You could just do SS, you can just do TV, whatever. Lots of different options there. So we'll click next, 4/4 is great. Let's do maybe G major for this, and we will generate the exercise. Now this is just an 8-measure exercise, okay? But we've made it so that ensemble users can now generate more than 8 measures. Before they were limited to just 8 measures because you could only fit 8 measures on the screen. But now we have some really cool features for auto scrolling, which I'll show you about in just a moment. So let's, but I also wanted to show you, I'm going to change this to 4 measures. I also wanted to point out for doing, by the way, whenever you make a change and it requires new music, it'll tell you. So I changed it to 4 and it said, hey, you need to load a new exercise. So I'm going to click that and it'll load a new exercise. So I want to, again, show you some cool things about zooming to make this a read. So here's a 4-measure exercise, and you may think, oh, that's going to be too hard to read. Well, I can zoom in a lot here, and I can keep zooming in, and then, you know, it gets nice and big. I can even go full screen mode and zoom in more if I want to. So so you can even do fewer measures, like four measures, and zoom in a lot in order to fit it on the screen. So yeah, I wanted to point that out. Get out of full screen mode there. And yeah, we'll stay zoomed in, that's fine. Now I'm going to change this to 24 measures, generate a new exercise. And now what you're going to see is, okay, so we're going to be 4 measures per line here, but what you'll notice is that you can only see 4 measures at a time. You can't see anything else. So, but what we did, we implemented a way for the music to scroll itself. So if you're a piano player, for example, and you want to do, I can't remember what the max is for piano. It's probably 24 measures, and it's not fitting all on the screen. If you just start either a challenge or if you hit play, the music will actually scroll itself for you, so you don't have to worry about stopping and scrolling up the music. But you can do that when your students are studying. So let's say, you know, you want your students to look over real quick. You can say, okay, take a look at that for a couple seconds. You know, take a look at this, so on and so forth. And you kind of scroll and let them see it. And then when they're ready, you can hit the play button. And it'll play. And actually, we can kind of listen to this exercise because these chorales sound really nice. So I'm going to turn the metronome off. We'll leave the cursor on. That's fine. And I'll hit play, and we'll take a listen here, and you can watch how the music scrolls as we're doing it. Okay, you get the idea. I don't want to waste the whole webinar listening to music, although that was really nice. So you get so the chorales are really nice to listen to. You know, we took great care when designing these, you know, to kind of program in all those voice leading, part writing rules that we all learned in college. So yeah, so and really all the music we try to make like that. So so the chorales are really nice. I hope you enjoy those. Okay, so let's get rid of the 24 measures, and we'll go back to 8. Generate new exercise. And yeah, I can have unlimited nice little chorales. I can keep doing this all day long, and I'm going to get a different chorale. So I'm going to zoom back out a little bit here, and we will jump back into talk about annotations. Now, in doing annotations, I'm going to switch over to piano, and we'll talk about, because piano has an extra annotation that not everyone else has. So I'll pick a level 3, and G major is fine. Okay, so for piano, they have an extra annotation. First, I should talk about where you find them. You'll find them in the settings area, and you can toggle them on here by just checking the box for use annotations. And again, you'll have to load a new exercise in order for it to show whatever annotation you pick. So I'll load a new exercise, and then there's, for piano, the default is to use piano fingerings. Now, only the lower levels of piano actually offer this feature, and that's mainly because in the upper levels, they start getting into shifting and all that, and we didn't feel like we wanted to be making judgments as to what fingerings you should be using with your shifting, because a lot of times, you know, people have preferences. So anyway, but yeah, at the beginning of every exercise for the lower levels of piano, it'll show you the fingerings. But we do offer other annotations, which I'll talk about, and this is for everyone. We offer scale degrees, so if you want to show, I guess pitch names. So if you want to show the pitch names, you can. You just toggle that on and off. Now, I'll also show, or say that you can toggle these on and off after they're on with the A hotkey. So I just hit the A key and they disappeared. So this could be a fun way if you're you know, if you want to, if you're a classroom teacher, you got a smart board or some other board where they can go up and write on it. You could have them write, you know, the letter names below the notes, and then you could show it to them and say, let's see if you got it right. So that's kind of a neat feature that you can use to be able to toggle those on and off. Excuse me. Okay, other annotations, we have scale degrees. So if you use scale degree numbers when teaching, if you'd like to do that, or you can toggle those on and off like that. Let's see here. We also have, we talked about the fingerings. Oh yeah, and different solfege systems. So we have fixed do, movable do and la bass minor, and movable do and do bass minor. But turning one of those on will show this show the solfege below the notes. All right, that can be really helpful if your students are learning solfege. Okay, let's keep going on down the list here. Subdivide metronome beat. So this is a new feature that we added recently. If you have that toggled on, whenever you start the freeform metronome or when you go to listen to the music, you'll hear the metronome beat subdivided. Okay, now one of the main reasons we did that is for our compound time signatures like 6/8, 9/8, 12/8, and the recently added 6/4. So a lot of people wanted to hear the eighth notes in the 6/8 time signature, not just clicks on the dotted quarter note. So when you're doing 6/8 or 9/8 or 12/8 or 6/4, you'll hear the subdivisions of the beat if you have that turned on. Likewise, you'll hear it in the music as well. So if I were to play this exercise and turn the metronome on, you'd hear the beat subdivided. And that can really help you from rushing if you're a musician that tends to rush when you play, like I do. Okay, so let's see here. We talked about annotations, subdividing. Okay, measure numbers. Yeah, this is simple. This just turns the measure numbers on and off the music. You can see them turning on here if you'd like to have those on. And finally, in this section, you can now set the kind of minor scale that you like to use. This is a very recent addition, one I'm very excited about. So I'm going to use voice to demonstrate this. So I'll pick a soprano, and we'll do Sight Reading Factory level 5. And we'll have to pick a minor key signature. We'll just do A minor, and we'll generate a free play exercise. Okay, so let me turn off annotations, and let me also make it natural minor. Load a new exercise. Okay, so before it was like if the level didn't allow accidentals, we would only show natural minor. Now, if the level now you can pick what you want, and then if it was like if the level was a higher level where it allowed accidentals, it would do all kinds of weird accidentals and wouldn't always give you a raised seventh and things like that. Now you can specify the exact kind of minor scale you'd like to use. So right now I currently have it on natural minor, so you won't see any raised seventh scale degree. It's just going to be, everything's going to be natural minor. Okay, so we can change this to harmonic. I'll do that next. And then what you would see with harmonic is the raised seventh scale degree. You would never see, so we're in A minor, so you'd never see a G natural. You'd only see G sharps. Also, you'd get this, the exotic augmented second. You'll get those. Those will be legal. So if you don't like those, they're not going to happen all the time, but you might see those. So you can generate another exercise so you don't see one. Like here's an exercise that's got your raised seventh, but doesn't have an augmented second. So that's one that you might want to sing. Here's another one like that. Let's see, and then we'll see if we can find one where we get that augmented second again. Yeah, and then here's one where you get the augmented second if you want to challenge yourself singing that. Okay, finally, you can now do the melodic minor scale. So, and you can see right away that here we are, the raised sixth and raised seventh going up. And then and then here we are coming down. So we have the lowered coming down and the raised going up. And these always sound really nice. So let's see if I can find one where they go right back down. All right, I'm not gonna waste the whole webinar trying to find one. But yeah, these are really nice to listen to. I encourage you to listen to a couple of these melodic minor ones. Okay, moving on. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the challenge exercises. I briefly already talked about the options, but now I'll just generate one so that you can you can get an idea. And we're just going to keep this minor scale going. So we're going to turn auto advance off. We'll have the sound, or we'll put the sound on. That's fine. And we're going to return. I'm going to turn sound off, but I'm going to leave the recording on. So here I'll start this. So now the first thing you're going to get again with challenge, we think you're going to be performing, right? So we're going to give you a countdown timer, a limited amount of time to study the music before you're supposed to start. You'll study the music, sing it a little bit, play a little bit until you're ready to go. And then And then when you're ready, you can either wait for the countdown timer to expire, or you can click ready and it'll start. So so I think I'm ready to go here. So I'm going to go ahead and click ready, and it's going to count off. And then here we go. So I'm supposed to be playing. You can see the cursor going. You can see the little recording indicator saying that it's recording me. You hear the metronome going because I enabled that, so on and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and stop this for now. And again, if you didn't like the subdivide metronome beat, you can untoggle that there. Okay, so now options we have after doing a challenge exercise. By the way, before, if you remember, if you did a time practice, you couldn't stop in the middle of an exercise. You had to let it play all the way through. So it's really cool now. If you make a mistake or you want to start over, you can stop and restart. That was another thing you weren't able to do before. You couldn't retry. You can now retry the same exercise with the challenge settings on. Okay, so, but I'm not gonna retry this one. But I did want to say that after you've played it, you can listen to your recording. Okay, so let's say I just want to listen to my recording, I can do that. Or I can turn that off and just listen to the sound. Or I can listen to my recording and the sound. That's a really great way to self-assess, so that you can kind of listen to yourself on top of the synthetic recording. Or you can also, you can have the cursor and the metronome on while you're doing that. We talked about retry. This little red star that popped up, this is our little challenge star option. So by clicking that, this lets you just change any of those settings that you did before we generated the music. So if you want to turn recording off and turn auto advance on and turn the sound on, you can do that, and you can hit retry or next, and it'll do the exercise again with those settings on. Okay, cool. So we talked about challenge. Let's go back and talk about some customization features now. We're almost done our first half. I know it's been a little bit longer than 30 minutes, but we're going to talk about customization and some recent save configurations. So customization. So on this level tab, you may have seen the custom button that says customize level that I have been avoiding up until now. So this is a very powerful way for you to customize the exercises exactly to your needs. And I will say that currently it is not available to all instruments. We are working on, and I know that some of you have been hearing this for a few years now, especially our poor piano players who are like, we want to be able to customize too. It is coming, and we hope soon. We have all the parts moving towards that. So okay, so yeah, so the instruments that you can't customize are piano, multiple part ensembles. You can customize unison ensembles. And you cannot customize snare drum. So piano, multiple part ensembles, and snare drum you can't customize. Everything else you can. So you would click on the level tab, you would click customize level, and you would pick what rhythms that you'd want to use when sight reading. Okay. And rhythm difficulty, this basically just means how many fast rhythms are going to be per measure. And it really only matters if you're using eighth notes or faster. So easy would be like one group of fast rhythms. Medium would be 2 groups of fast rhythms. Difficult would be, you could have a full measure of fast rhythms. If you want syncopated or ties, I don't. I just want this. The pitches tab, this hasn't really changed much. So it just looks a little bit different, but I will talk about how the custom leaps selection has changed some. So here you can select the range picker there. You can select what range you want to use. You could set a maximum leap size, leaps no greater than a third or a fifth. But if you want to limit it to even finer details, you could click the custom leaps, and you could say I only want leaps of 1 ascending to scale degree 3, and I only want it from 5 descending down to scale degree 1, and I only want those leaps, and I want to start on root, and I'll hit next. And let's not do A minor anymore. We will do C major, and we'll hit free play. So here's a custom exercise I just did using the rhythms I wanted, the range I wanted, the leaps I wanted. My leaps are, there's my leap right there, and let's see, there's my other leap. So I've got the leaps I wanted and all the rhythms and the range. So it's a great way, it's a really powerful way for you to customize it exactly for yourself or for your students. And there's lots of other ways you can use it. I don't have time to get into it right now, but let your imaginations go wild with this. It's really, really a powerful feature. Now, let's get back to the dashboard before we move on to student accounts. And related to customizations, Let's say that you work hard to set up some nice customizations for yourself or for your classes, your students that you want to use, and you have a lot of different ones for different levels and this and that, and it's time consuming to do, right? So you can save these configurations that you do. So on your dashboard, on the recent tab, this will show you your most recent configurations. So here is my Soprano one I set up. I can save this, and I can call this, I'm not feeling very creative right now, so I'm just going to call it Soprano. Yeah, I'll just call it Soprano, and I'll hit save. So now I have a new level called Soprano, and then when I go over here, you'll see that Soprano is added, and you'll also see my other save configuration called Torture. The reason it's called Torture is because it's for B-flat clarinets that constantly cross the break. So if you're a clarinet player or a band director, you will kind of understand that joke. Okay, otherwise I have my new saved configuration, and I can hit practice, and then there's the configuration I did. I don't have to go through and set it all up again. Okay, great. So with that said, that pretty much wraps up using SightReadingFactory, the first half here, using SightReadingFactory as an individual user. So for those of you that are not a teacher with student accounts, you are obviously welcome to stick around and listen to it. But if not, thank you for watching. I'm now going to continue on with the student accounts section. For this section, I wanted to mention that I will be using the built-in SightReadingFactory LMS to demonstrate. But I did want to mention that we are also integrated with 2 other LMSs right now. If you've heard of the Music First online classroom, we are integrated with their LMS. Very exciting software. I encourage you to check that out. And then also, if you're a teacher that uses Canvas, the Canvas LMS at your school, we recently integrated with them. So if you're interested in using SightReadingFactory through your Canvas account, let us know and we can set that up. And I also wanted to mention that we are very motivated to integrate with more LMSs this year. Ones that we're looking at right now are Schoology, Moodle, and Infinite Campus. No promises on any of them, but it is definitely something that we are motivated to do. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. Okay, so I'm gonna hop back into the slides here. And before we move on, I wanted to bring up again the system requirements. So that any of you, if you are a teacher and you just tuned in to the second half of this to learn about student accounts, that the list here that you see are the supported devices and the browsers that we recommend for students that are going to be taking assignments. So for Windows computers, Chrome, Edge, and Firefox browsers, Mac computers, Chrome, Firefox, and Safari browsers, Chromebooks and other netbooks use the Chrome browser. iPhones and iPads, they can now take it in the Safari browser. Very exciting. We highly recommend it because that has all the updates, whereas the iOS app doesn't. But they can still use the iOS app. It still works. It just doesn't have all the new cool features that the browser has. And then, of course, Android smartphones and tablets can take SightReadingFactory assignments in the Chrome browser. Okay, so cool. So big changes. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. I apologize about that. All right, so big changes for SightReadingFactory student account users. So students will now have more tools for self-assessing, and you may have seen that when we were talking about challenging, the challenge mode, because now they can now, before they would only be able to listen to their own recording, but now they can listen to their recording or the synth recording, or they're recording on top of the synth. So they have a lot of tools for self-assessing before submitting it to you. And as I just mentioned, they can now take assignments on iOS devices, through the Safari browser. So they don't have to use the iOS app. They can now do it through the browser. There was a question that was, what's an LMS? LMS is Learning Management System. Yeah, system. I couldn't decide if it was software or system. So Learning Management System is what LMS stands for, and it's basically like a grade book. It's a way for you to organize your students into classes and groups, and and grade them and whatnot. So that's what an LMS is for those of you that don't understand the lingo. Sorry about that. Okay, and another exciting change. This one's actually a really cool one. We implemented a faster and more efficient way to grade your ungraded assignments. So before, you would kind of have to do each class at a time, or even maybe each assignment at a time, and you were kind of navigating through the site. Now you can just kind of hop into and just grade all of them at once. So that's a lot faster way to grade. It's very cool. And then finally, finally, managing the Sight Reading Factory LMS, or Learning Management System, is great on mobile now. So I encourage you to check it out on your phone. If you go there, creating assignments works really well. Grading, it's really, really powerful on your phone. So if you don't have your computer handy and you want to, grade some assignments while you're sitting home on your couch or something like that, just take out your phone and go at it. So yeah, okay, cool. So we talked about that. Sorry, trying to stick to my outline here. All right, so we'll talk about student codes and how you can sign up. So when you purchase student accounts, okay, what you'll get is a student code. So let's say you purchase 100 student accounts. What you'll get is a student code that has 100 uses. So you'll see that on your student codes tab once you have purchased student accounts. So here's various student codes that I've had. The one that I have that still has some remaining is right here, this code. Okay, you'll see it's been used 90 times and I have 10 remaining uses on it. All of the other ones have been used up. So now I'll click View by this student code, and this will show me a little bit of information about it. It'll show me who was signed up, when they signed up. You can revoke student code usages up to 14 days after a student redeems your code. So let's say that a student signs up twice. Actually, in the last couple of weeks, we've had multiple different occasions where students will sign up 3 times. So if that happens, you can just go to your student code screen here and revoke it. If for some reason you don't catch it until after 14 days, we can revoke it for you. Or if it's like a couple months later, the student transfers to another school, you can contact us and let us know, and we can revoke it for you. Now, student codes is how your students get signed up. So on this page, you'll see it has a registration URL here, okay? So on this registration URL, it has the student code entered. You'll see that right there. It's part of the registration URL. That's probably the easiest way to do it, is just email this to your students, or put it in there. If you have Google Classroom or something like that, just give them this link and they click that. It saves them a step. But if not, then the student would just go directly to SightReadingFactory.com/student. They would enter the student code right here, and then they would create some their profile. I'll show you real quick how this works actually. So I'm going to log out of this account, and I'm going to go over here and change this to SightReadingFactory.com/student. So this is what it would look like for a student when they're signing up. Very simple. Enter your student code. They would enter the code provided by the teacher. They would click subscribe, and now what they do, they've successfully redeemed the student code. And now what we ask is their age group, okay? Due to student privacy laws, for students that are under 13 years of age, we can't ask an email address, so they have to sign up with their username. So if they click this, then they create a username, first name, a last initial, and a password, agree to that, and they're in. Okay, if they're older than 12, so if they're 13 or older, we do ask an email address. Number one, because it's allowed, but number two, it's just for password resetting purposes. So, it's very common that students forget their passwords, and they can reset it themselves if needed. If for any reason, if your school or your district or whatever isn't comfortable with us even having their email addresses, and for students older than 12, 13 and older, then you can just let us know, and for your student code that they would use to sign up, we can enable it so that they are not allowed to use an email address at all. It would look like this. They would have to sign up with the username. So if that is an issue for your school district, let us know, and we can fix that. So very easy for a student to sign up, and once they subscribe, their account is then linked to your account. So let me log back in as my teacher here. Okay, so log back in as my teacher. So once your students sign up, you will see them on your Students tab. And you will see a whole big pile of students here. These are clearly my fake students that have signed up, that have redeemed my code. Now, I can click Details by a student. And upon doing that, I can see details specifically for the student. I can see when their subscription ends. I can see any assignments that they may have. I can view reports on how they've used the site. Very neat feature. I could extend their subscription if I wanted to, if they were almost expired. I can update their account information if they had a typo in their username or something, or if they forgot their password, you can set a new password for them. Let's see here. Okay, back to the dashboard here. Okay, so I also want to mention that I think it's good practice year in and year out as your students graduate, leave your program or whatever, to archive them so it doesn't, so your students tab here doesn't get cluttered. So you can archive your students individually like this, or on this tab you can click the bulk archive button, and in doing that you'll see the whole list of students that are not yet archived here, and you can just check the box that you want to archive them. Then at the bottom there is a button to archive, and then you're good to go there. So that's how you would do a big bulk archive. And if you accidentally archive someone, you would go into the archived folder and just unarchive them. So that's how that works. I'll talk more about this grade all feature in just a moment after we get into assignments. Okay, moving right along. Let's talk about classes. Okay, so I also mentioned, kind of related to what I was just talking about with students, when you're starting a new year, we do recommend that you archive old classes before creating new. I mean, it doesn't matter, I guess, when you do it, but we don't recommend using old classes, for a new year. So this class probably has a bad name. I would call it something like, 2019 intermediate strings. And then when I'm done at the end of the year, I would click on it and I would click the archive button here. And then that would archive it, and I would still have access to it. I could click archive for classes, and I would see any archived classes here. So so yeah, we do recommend archiving classes each year, so that way you don't you don't have a lot of unnecessary assignments and whatnot floating around. Okay, so starting a new class, we click the new button. You'd call it what you want. I can't think of anything creative, so I'm going to call it my class, and it's going to be first period. Description is optional, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to call it first period. Now the level, so you can set what levels that you'd like to do for the class. Basically this means what levels your students are going to see when they go to practice. Okay, so currently these levels you're seeing are the ones that I have preferred on my preferences tab. Okay, I could click show more levels and it'll show all the various levels that we have for all the different standards. And this is all, these are all levels that obviously you're not going to do all of those for your students, but you could if you wanted to. So maybe, my students are prepping for the NISMA festival, and they're older students and I want them, to practice the higher levels. So I could, just enable something like this, and I don't need them to see my custom levels. So I'm going to undo those. Actually, I do want them to do this one. And I'll hit save. Okay, so now I've set my levels for my class, and now I'm going to enroll my students. So here's all my students that have redeemed my code. I can pick some of them here that are going to be in the class. I could, if it's going to be everyone that's redeemed, I could select all, or I could unselect all. However you do that, however you want to do that. So I'll just do a couple there. Oh no, let's select all. We'll select all. Okay, boom. Scroll down to the bottom, and we'll hit save. All right, so here's my enrollments. It's a very, very large class because I've got literally all my 150 some students enrolled. Okay, now, and this shows you information about it. Okay, so now let's talk about, now that we know how to create a class, let's talk about creating an assignment for your class. So the assignments feature, I think, is one of the greatest things about the website. I just think it's a way to give your kids a specific assignment exercise that you configure for them. They're practicing at home because they're going to send you a recording that you get to listen to. You get to see the music they had, and they're going to want to make a good recording, so they're going to practice. It's just a really, really powerful way to use the site, so I encourage you to check it out. All right, so I'm going to create a new assignment. Nothing's really changed too much on this page, but I do just want to walk through it because there are a few changes in the last year that might be new to you. So I can't think of anything creative again, so I'm just going to call it assignment. We'll just call it assignment. I'm going to configure pretty much everything for the student except they are going to pick their except they're going to pick their instrument. So pick instrument and launch. So there's their instructions. Maximum attempts. Yeah, if you're not familiar with this, so basically you could allow unlimited attempts for the assignment. What that means is that if the student plays through the exercise and they do a really poor job and they want to try again, they are allowed to try again or try another. Now, they can't try the same exercise again. They would have to try a new exercise. So if they try another, it'll generate a new exercise and they can keep going. Personally, I'm fine with them trying as many as they want because they're practicing, and that's what we really want them to do. Okay, so, but you could uncheck it and you could say, I only want you to have 10 attempts at this. That's not 10 attempts on the same exercise. That's 10 separate exercises they can try, and they would send you the most recent one that they did. Okay, if you want an email notification, this is something fairly new. You can click that. That'll send you an email every time a student completes something, so you know you have to grade. Some teachers don't like this because they get a lot of emails anyway, so you don't have to have that on. Obviously, we'll need a due date for the assignment, so I'll select a due date. Release date, this is something that's fairly new, kind of a neat feature. Let's say that you want to spend a lot of time getting your assignments ready for the entire school year, but you want to, maybe you have a progression in mind. You don't want them being visible to all the students at one time for whatever reason. Well, you could set release date, a release date for each assignment, and the assignment will be invisible to the student. You can create it now, but it won't be visible to them until the release date happens. By default, the release date will always be like the past half hour. So you can see here, or maybe it's 15 minutes, I'm not sure. But you can see here that the time is 8:56 p.m. right now, so the release time is 8:30 p.m. on the same day. So this assignment is already going to be released. All right, now we're going to set the configuration for the assignment. Now, with this, you can set as many options as you want for them, or you can set no options. You can just let them pick everything. It's really up to you. You can set some, none, or all. So personally, I think it's good to set a lot so that you don't have to worry about students selecting things that you don't want them to select. I'll briefly talk about instrument. So with instrument, the only choice is let student choose or rhythm only. I'm not going to really get into why you can't select soprano or trombone or whatever, but right now those are just the only choices. Let student choose or rhythm only. I'm going to use the let student choose because I'm not going to do a rhythm only assignment. For the level, you can set this. And you'll notice that it's only the levels that I have enabled for my assignment. And I just realized something. I wanted to actually do an assignment on a live webinar, so I need to go back and change this. Give me just a second here. My class. I'm going to edit the levels here because I'm not very good, so I'm going to do a level 1 assignment. Okay. So let me go back creating this assignment again. So assignment, pick instrument, and launch. Limited attempts is fine. Oh, you know what? Let's just limit it to 10 because that's what we had before. There we are. That, bing, bang, boom. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to do a level 1 exercise. I'm going to limit the key signature to just C major, but you can do multiple. Let's say you want it to be random between 4 different key signatures. Some students will get this one, some will get that one, or whatever. You can do that if you want. Keep in mind, this is the concert key signature. So if you're a band director, you're telling your students they're going to sight read in concert C major, not their C major. Okay. For time signature, I'm just going to do happy old 4/4. But again, you can multiple select them if you wanted, and whatever you selected, it would be randomly chosen from those. And let's see here, I'm only going to do a 4-measure exercise, and a tempo 100 is fine. Countdown timer. So yeah, so for the countdown timer, you can have this be as much as you want. I noticed there were some teachers who were wanting untimed assignments. And we don't have that feature, but we do have it so that you can set a very high countdown timer. So for example, you could set, I think the maximum is 3,000. So you could set a 3,000 second countdown timer, which is virtually, a really long time. Your students would have a very long time to study the music. They could take their time, become familiar with it, click the ready button when they're ready and start recording. Or if you want it to be more like an audition situation, they have an audition coming up and they know they're only going to have 30 seconds to study the music. You can, just give them 30 seconds. That's all they get, and then they get to do the assignment. So you have a lot of flexibility there. You can turn the metronome track on if you'd like. I will turn it on. I'm going to say I want the metronome, but I don't want to subdivide the beat. Disappearing measures if you want it. I don't want it. Note cursor, nope, don't want it. Metronome numbers, yeah. Let's turn those on. Do I want annotations? No annotations. And if I were doing a minor scale, which I'm not, you know, if I wanted my students to do a minor scale, I could set the minor scale type. I'm not. Now I've got my I've got my assignment here. Now I'm going to log in as one of my students, and I'm going to take this assignment so you can see what it's like from a student point of view. So we're going to log in here, and we're going to log in as a student. All right, I'm enrolled in the class. Go over to assignments, and assignment for my class. Here it is. So I'm going to launch it. Now the student, oh my goodness gracious. Okay, I didn't have the new music page enabled. Okay, so let's try launching that assignment again. It was like a blast from the past right there. Let's see here, my class assignment launch. There we go. Okay, so I've done a recording before, so I'm going to click skip mic check. But your students may have to do a mic check if they haven't done one recently. Okay, and I'm going to click voice because I have to pick my instrument. I'm a soprano, sure. Yes, I am. I'm a soprano. And then here on the review screen, your students can review, you know, what's going to be involved. There's the instructions that I should have looked at before I went on, but I knew what I had to do. So I know it's going to be a 30-second countdown, 4 measures, 100 tempo, and I have 10 attempts remaining. So I'm going to click Start Assignment. You'll notice this looks a lot like that assignment mode here. I can do this to get my opening pitch. Oh. Okay, now I'm going to purposely mess up this assignment so that I can go back and listen to it, and then, you know, hear where I messed up. But I'd probably mess it up anyway. Okay, I'm ready to go. I'm going to click ready. Do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, re, do. Okay, so there it is. So you see my options, try another. It tells me how many I have left there. Now, as a student, I can then go in and I can assess myself. I can say, do I want to listen with the recording and the sound? And I can say, yes, maybe I do. I've been informed that the sound quality is pretty bad on your end, so I'm not going to subject that to you right now. But as a student, you can do that. So you can put on the recording, the sound, listen back to it. The student would hear that they messed up, they made a mistake. It's like, ooh, let me try that again. So they click try another. Yeah, sure, I want to try again. And then here we go. Here's a new exercise. If they're not sure what the tempo is going to be, they can click the metronome to get that little hint of the tempo. And I think we're ready to go. So we'll click ready. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. All right, awesome. I'm happy with that one. That one's good. I could listen back to it and say, confirm it. Yeah, that's great. And I'm going to submit. So I'm now submitting it to my teacher, which is myself. And I'm going to log back in as the teacher. Okay, and now as a teacher, I can go in here and I can grade this assignment. So one thing I will point out is that, well, I'll show you this in a second. So let me come here. I'm on my assignments tab, and I'm going to look for my assignment. Where'd you go, assignment? There it is. And I'll see that I have one ungraded. Where is my assignment? Here it is. I have one ungraded, and it's right. Whoops. Let me resort this here. There we go. And there it is. So I'll click grade. And now here you see the music that my students saw. I could click that and listen to the recording. I can see when it was completed, how many attempts they did, what level they picked, what instrument they did, all that kind of business. I could reset it for them if they messed up and they submitted by accident. I can download the recording. Lots of different options here on this grading screen. So that's kind of how you know, the assignment features work. I think it's pretty powerful. Now I did want to mention that you know, one of the cool things about the new site that we've done is that you have a really fast way of grading. So I'll demonstrate that now. So before, for example, if I were to go in and grade that, I could only grade that one assignment. It would kick me back out, and I'd have to go back into another assignment and then pick one student, and then that would kick me back out. But if you go to your Students tab and you click Grade All, it'll let you grade all your assignments. Doesn't matter the class, the assignment, the student, or whatever. It'll just run through them all. And eventually this button will also be moved to the Assignments tab as well. So I'm going to click Grade All, and you can kind of see this by, once you're there, it shows you the class and the assignment. And if you click this drop down, it'll show you the whole list of assignments in the classes where you have ungraded assignments. Those numbers by it are showing you the ungraded assignments, okay? So for example, I can grade one, I can say A, after I've listened to it, great, and I can hit save, and it'll load up another one. And now here's another exercise. Someone else submitted this. B, cool, and I'll hit save. And then it'll bring up another one. So I can just kind of keep doing this, and that way I can quickly go through and grade all the ungraded assignments that need to be done. So a really powerful way to do that there. Let's see here. Talked about that. Okay, so let's real quick talk about grade books. So after you've graded a lot of stuff, you can go to a class page. So I'll go to this one. Looks like it has the most busy stuff here. So on your class page, you can click the gradebook feature, and it'll show you the gradebook for the class, showing you all of the assignments and students. And you can kind of scroll to the side to see everything if it's not showing. But you can print this, print a PDF of this, or do a CSV, export to CSV to upload into the LMS of your choice. Let's see here. Okay, now, last thing I want to talk about is kind of get down in the weeds here and talk about the custom levels. This is, I wouldn't call it a complex feature, but it is one of the more complex features on the site. So if you were tuning in for the first half, you may have remembered we talked about the customization feature. Well, there wasn't really a way to use the stuff that you customize on the fly for students and assignments. In the last, I can't remember, a year or two, we did implement a way for you to create your own custom level that you could then assign to or attach to an assignment that your students could use. So I'll kind of walk you through that right now to explain how that works. So I'll just create a new custom level. Not feeling very creative again, I'm just going to call it level. I'm going to say I want this for my concert band class, but you could choose other classes to put it in. If you're on a Mac, you could hold down the command button and select multiple of them. If you're on a Windows, you would hold down Control to select multiple classes. And then this probably looks familiar to you from the customization, setting up the customization. So we can pick what rhythms we want to be here. I'll just do these rhythms. We'll throw in a couple rest or something. And what we want the rhythm difficulty to be. If you want syncopated, yeah, sure, we'll put it in the syncopation. Now, for the pitch attributes, you can select what instruments that you're going to configure this for, or if you're only going to do this for rhythm only and tone sets, you don't need to select the pitch attribute. So I have this checked. If I have this checked, you'll see all that other stuff disappear. So I could create this level, and this would only be for rhythm only and tone sets. The reason why tone sets is grouped in with this is because you can't customize the pitch attributes of a tone set because they're already sort of customized. You can't change those. It's all, if you're doing the pentatonic tone set, it's only going to be do, re, mi, sol, la. You can't pick anything else. So if you want to customize this level for multiple instruments, you would do that here in the pitch ranges section. Now, so the way this works is we assume that when you're making a level that pretty much all your students for this level are going to be using the same rhythm, okay? So, but not all of your students, especially if you're a band director, or a string teacher or whatever, or even choir, are going to be using the same pitch range, or the same clef or whatever. So rather than having to make a custom level for each instrument, you can make a single custom level where you can use a single rhythm, a shared rhythm, but different pitch ranges for all of the different mediums. So, and what you're thinking here is written ranges, okay? So that's how you're going to kind of group these together, okay? So, for example, in my head, I'm a band director, so I'm going to think band, okay? So I'm thinking it's going to be, my trumpets are going to have a certain range. Let me find B flat trumpet. Oh, where are you, B flat trumpet? There you are. And they might have the same range as the clarinets, and that might also have the same range, written range as the B flat bass clarinet, which might also have the same range as a horn. You get the idea. So I can kind of think about those same written ranges for instruments and kind of group those together. There's others that might apply there. I'm just picking those for now. And then I'll set that range. I'm thinking maybe C to C is the range I'm thinking of, okay? And I'll add range configuration. So now these instruments, B flat trumpet, B flat soprano clarinet, B flat bass clarinet, and horn and F will use this range, with these rhythms, okay? And I could do some others, okay? So let's say I wanted to do some bass clef instruments. So I'm going to choose a clef, bass clef. And I know that my trombones, where's trombone bass clef and euphonium bass clef, are going to have about the same range, you know, so I'll configure the range for them. That's a good range. We'll just add flats in front of those notes, and we'll add that range configuration. You get the idea. I could do a lot of different instruments and configure a lot of different ranges. They'll use the same range, and they'll use, they'll use different ranges as you've configured here, but they'll use the same rhythm that you've configured, okay? And then after you've done that, you can set some other pitch attributes. If you want to start on root, if you want dynamics, if you want accidentals, your leap size. You may have remembered I also talked about custom leaps. If you want to have specific leaps, you know, only scale degree 1 to 5, ascending, so on and so forth. I'm fine with just a maximum leap size. And then I'll hit save. Now that I've created this level, it's in my concert band class. Now when I go into an assignment, a concert band assignment, for example, and I want to edit my sight reading quiz level. Okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to change this level. I go in here and I click the level drop down and I'll see my level I created. Okay, so now I can use that level I created in an assignment. All right, and now the students, when they take this assignment, they're going to have this custom level that I created for them. So a very powerful way to use that for your students in an assignment. Okay, let's see here. And finally, about custom levels, I wanted to say this is also a really neat way for teachers to share these levels with each other. There's actually a way when creating a level, when you edit it, it actually has a share URL, okay? So you can copy this share URL and give this to another Sight Reading Factory user that has student counts and that has this custom levels feature. You can give that to them, and when all they have to do is enter that URL. You'll notice it says localhost. That's because I'm running this locally, not on Sight Reading Factory. It would say SightReadingFactory.com /level. You give that to someone, and when they put it in their browser, that level will be automatically added to their level tab. So let's say you're in a district where y'all want to make a sight reading level for your auditions or something like that. You can make a custom level, share it with all the other teachers in the district, and now everyone's using the same custom level. So that's kind of a neat way to use that feature as well. Let's see here. I think that about, you know what, let me talk real quick about reports. Reports is a cool feature. Here on the dashboard on the right side, you'll see the View My Reports icon. If you click that, this will let you see reports on how many exercises your students have generated. You could see, you can click the class report and see what instruments are using, key signatures using. You can click on a specific student and see how many exercises they've generated. You can sort it by a certain day and time. You can see specific sessions that they've done and how long they've spent in those sessions. Really a powerful way to keep track of what how your students are using the site. Okay, so that about wraps up the second half here, talking about student accounts. As I mentioned at the beginning, we'll see if we have any questions. I'm just going to check in with Adam and Colleen and figure out how to turn. Oh, I think Colleen can turn her own mic on, but we'll see if we have anything that we want to talk about, common questions or anything I may have screwed up along the way that I should address.
A lot of great questions. I don't think there's really a theme to them. I mean, there's so many different types of questions. I can't think of anything that we can address.
Okay.
You can see there.
Yeah, wow, that is a lot. Yeah, I'm just blabbing away for the hour and 15 minutes there, but it's great to see that, wow, great to see a lot of comments and questions there. So yeah, thanks. So Colleen, I don't know if you have yours unmuted or not, but you're welcome to chime in if you have a question.
Sure. There were some from the educators, for instance, students that go from middle school to high school and they change teachers, but they had Sight Reading Factory in middle school, but are changing teachers. What do you recommend they do in that situation?
Yeah, great question. So, and I'm not sure if everyone heard that, so I'll just repeat it. So, and Colleen, correct me if I didn't hear this right, but students that go from, and this is becoming an issue now. This is maybe the third or fourth year of students using Sight Reading Factory, and so as as students go from middle school to high school, they had an account at their middle school and now they're going to high school. Maybe they forgot their password. They can't access their account. There's a couple different ways we can handle that, and we've handled that in the past. We can temporarily link those teachers together so that so that the teacher at the new school has access to the student from the old school, and they can update login credentials or whatever. And then then that teacher can redeem the student code for them. That's one way to do it. Another way is if the student still has access to their old account, they can still use their old account. Matter of fact, someone can start using the Sight Reading Factory account in the 6th grade, and they can use it, as long as they want until they're out of school. It doesn't matter. Then really that's the way it's intended to be used. So for example, if they get in 8th grade, they go to high school, they don't have to start a new account. All they have to do is redeem the new teacher's student code. As soon as they do that, they're linked to the new teacher's account. So that's one way of doing it. And if worse comes to worse, if you need help from us, just let us know. Say, hey, this student came up. We got to get them linked, and we can take care of it for you.
And as a follow-up to that, let's hypothetically say that the student is in 2 different musical ensembles like choir and band and has 2 different teachers. Can more than one teacher share those students?
Yes, great question. So yes, oh yeah, and I meant to talk about that. So yes, we can link teachers together. So if teachers are, a band and choir teacher at a school, they share a lot of common students. We don't want those students to have 2 separate accounts. Most students have a hard time managing one account. So what we do in those cases is we link the teachers together, okay? And then the student would only have to redeem one of the teacher's code, or maybe the teachers share a student code, either way. And when they do that, the teachers would have access to any shared students, and the student would see both assignments coming from both teachers and can be enrolled into both teachers' classes and all that kind of business. So that can absolutely be done. I wanted to also mention that when you're setting up classes, we do have a co-teachers feature. So first, the teachers have to be linked, and we have to do that for you, by the way. So if you do want to be linked with a colleague or whatever, let us know and we can link you together. But after you're linked together, if there are co-teachers that co-teach the same class, and you both want to have your own account but be able to grade and manage the same students or the same assignments for a class, you can add a co-teacher to a class. So like when you're setting up a class, that would actually be an option. You would see an option to add a co-teacher.
A couple more. Do student accounts expire, and do teachers need to buy them every school year?
Yes, good question. So yes, student accounts do expire. Every time your student redeems a student code, they get a 1-year subscription to the website. When they redeem the code, the student gets a 1-year subscription, and it lasts from the date they redeem. The student codes themselves, okay, so like on my student codes out there, these student codes never expire. The student code itself never expires until it's been used up the maximum number of times, okay? So this one has 90 used, 10 remaining. If, next year I can hand this one out to 10 more students to redeem, and it would give them a 1-year subscription to the site. So yes, each year your students will need a new student code. So yeah, so what we recommend is that from year to year, you just purchase the accounts you need for that year. Don't worry about who's returning, who's new, who's expiring, who still has time on their subscription. Just purchase the accounts you need for that year. At some point during the year, your students are going to need to redeem a new code to get a new subscription, or to extend their subscription. So at the beginning of the school year, if you have 80 new students, that's a lot of new students. If you have 20 new students and 80 returning students, then buy 100 student accounts. You'll get a student code that has 100 uses. Your returning students will log into their existing account and redeem the code. They don't have to wait till their account expires. They can do it at any time. It'll just extend their account from the current end date, and your new students will redeem the code and create a new subscription. And that's sort of the same thing, rinse, repeat every year. Buy the number of student accounts you need for that year. Returning and new students redeem the same code.
All right, 2 more things here real quick. Are annotations available to all instruments and voice? And finally, what to do if someone has a request? Because there were a lot of fabulous requests on the question line, and what can they do about that?
Okay, yes, annotations are available to all mediums. I'm saying that with a little bit of hesitation because except snare drum, because snare drum doesn't have pitch names or scale degree numbers or solfege or any of that. But yeah, everything else, the annotations are available to. solfege, pitch names, scale degrees. What else? I think that's basically it. But yeah, so yes, all mediums have annotations available and ensembles. The other one was, oh yeah, if you have a request, email us, please. On our website, you should see either at the bottom or the top, depending on whether or not you're logged in and what page you're on. You'll see a contact link. Click the contact link. And there's a form there you can fill out, and we get every single one of those. We read every single one of those. We try to respond to every single one of those as we can. This is a busy time of year, but we do our best. And also our email address is on there. You can email support, S-U-P-P-O-R-T, support at SightReadingFactory.com. And again, it comes to the exact same place. We read all of them and we respond, and we do listen to feedback. So please, as you're using the site, if there's something that would be helpful to you, please let us know and we will respond. All right. Any other? I guess, you know what, we'll wrap it up. We've been going here. If you have anything else, I know Adam's still responding to some things over here. I might jump in and help a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and end the live broadcast with me flapping my trap. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I appreciate you checking it out. And again, please contact us if you have any questions.